everyone. I am menu planning for my next guest, and I'm going to keep the starters kind of light because the main meal is going to be a bit heavy. I'm going to do just some beautiful radishes and butter with sea salt, and I'm going to do a gorgeous little crostini with artichoke, like marinated artichoke hearts and mascarpone cheese with a little lemon zest and fresh herbs. Then I'm just going to keep little snackies. So I'm going to do a few olives, a few little delicious crunchy potato chips, a little dish of Marcona almonds, and I'm going to serve some bubbles with that. The first time I met this woman, we drank bubbles together and it was just lovely. So I'm feeling springy. I'm feeling ready for some effervescence and fun. So I'm going to pour some Prosecco tonight with those. And then moving on to dinner, I am going to try to perfect a duck ragu over pappardelle. So homemade pappardelle noodles, which are a little bit like long ribbon noodles, and a long simmering stewing duck ragu sauce that I'm going to serve over top of it. With that, I'm going to serve a big old Barolo, just a nice hearty red wine, and a really simple salad on the side. I think I'm going to do spinach salad. Not a lot in the salad, just a bright lemony dressing to kind of cut through sort of the heaviness of the ragu. And then for dessert, I'm going to go light again. I'm going to serve a fruta de bosco tart. So fruta de bosco is just like mixed berries. I think it actually translates to like fruits of the woods, berries of the woods. But in Italian pastry shops, or, if you're in Italy, you can find it like a mixture. It's usually strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, sliced over a gorgeous, like kind of custardy cream in a pastry shell. And it's just delicious and kind of a crowd pleaser. So I'm going to do that. So, and for music, I just went to this extraordinary show the other night with Robert Plant that was at St. John the Divine in New York City, which was so insane. So I'm going to play a little Robert Plant from his new album. And I'm going to go like Fiona Apple. I'm going to go like Kate Bush. I'm going to go a little Portishead. And I'm going to go a little Joni Mitchell with my Robert Plant. So I think it's going to be a good vibe. My next guest is wise. She is kind. She is chic. She is beautiful. She is smart. She is thoughtful. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So let's dig in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eat My Words. My guest today is someone who I had been hearing about for like a very long time from a couple of very beloved and trusted friends, but I finally got to meet recently, and I have to say I kind of fell head over heels like right away. I love when that happens. She is kind, she is chic, she is creative, and she is thoughtful. She is the founder of Flora Vintage and Gather, two brands rooted in nostalgia, community, and a deep appreciation for beauty and creativity. I mean, that is speaking my language. Founded in 2024, Flora is a curated vintage retailer shaped by years of traveling, collecting, and working alongside some of the most inspiring creative minds in fashion, design, and art. It's her response to throwaway culture, a celebration of timeless style, thoughtful curation, and a more mindful way of consuming. Also speaking my language. Gather followed as the experiential extension of that work, hosting events that bring people together to create art and make things with their hands through the series Crafts and Cocktails. I'm down for the cocktails. I'm not always down for the crafts, which we've talked about. We'll talk about again. With a background in fashion, including time working with Raf Simons as his right hand at Calvin Klein and in Milan at Prada, she developed a strong foundation in design, storytelling, and the emotional power of clothing. She decided to use that well-honed experience to curate and care for what already exists. In addition to all of this, she is also a daughter, she is a sister, she is a friend, she is a partner, she is a lifelong horse girl, a very fun auntie, and a new friend to me. Brooke Savona, welcome to Eat My Words.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I'm part of such a great podcast that you've created.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your precious time. It's all precious, I know. So I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me, even though the last time we tried to do this, we had major technical difficulties. So we're hoping, here's hoping we can get through this.
We got this.
So I want to talk to you today about your work, but I also really love to start kind of back. I like to know how you got to where you are today. So my first question is, where would you say your journey began?
Gosh, I think one of my first core memories was around the age of 3. And I think that really is where it began, or at least where I developed a curiosity and an appreciation for beauty and for clothes and even nostalgia and memory, because I remember around this time, my mom holding me, and I would look at her earrings, or I would look at the buttons on her shirt, and like even the feeling of the sweater she was wearing. And I remember that. I remember like the sweater is magenta and it had little pearls on it. And so I think that really shaped a lot for me. And I became interested and kind of obsessed with like going through her and all of my aunt's closets and like trying on their shoes and walking around in them. I think every little girl does this, but I remember like that the shoes were suede and that they were from Italy, like from a really young age. So I mean,
it's good to have the good references early on.
And I still think about those pieces too. I'm like, damn, that was a perfect color gray, you know? But I really do think that shaped me quite a bit. And I was always interested, even as I grew. I mean, at like 6 and 7, I, of course, like started to get interested in horses right around then. And that obsession also began. So they kind of went parallel with each other with clothes and feeling. But I always liked the way, even from a very young age, how clothes made me feel. And the appearance was almost secondary, but it was really how I felt when I put on a pair of shoes or tied a bow. And so that became really important. And then around 7 or 8, I took my first riding lesson. And my parents were not horse people. My family was not a horse family. So I don't think my parents knew where it came from, but I was obsessed, like full on. I remember the name of the first horse I rode in my lessons. And it became a love story. And I was a working student at a barn. And so I just kind of like went full on into the horse world. And that very much shaped also, how my teenage years went. And I think from that point, I knew that I wanted to be either in fashion, or I think I thought I could be an Olympic equestrian. I don't know how I thought that would have been possible.
I mean, I have one in my house who also thinks that she's going to be an Olympic equestrian. So it's like, yeah, you have to dream.
You have to dream. But I was always interested. So I had like these 3 passions. So it was, clothing and beauty, horses, and nature. And I was kind of always out, I was a very independent kid, and I was always out kind of like picking flowers or creating things, make believe. And, so there was a lot of creativity. My parents really fostered that. I felt really lucky to have parents that if I wanted to take a pottery class, they, were like, do it, try pottery. If I wanted to take ballet, so they really pushed me in a direction of creativity and doing things that I found passion in. And I was really lucky with the horses too, because as you know, it's not a cheap sport. I didn't come from a family of money either, but they really pushed me to find ways creatively to be able to continue to do that.
Amazing.
And then, I discovered New York. I grew up in Connecticut, and we were about an hour outside of New York City. And I think from the moment I discovered New York, I just knew I was going to live there also. That was something that I'm very decisive. Like when I know that something is going to happen, I feel like I just go full force towards it. So there's a tenacity there that I've always had. And yeah, I kind of, from visiting New York and going to museums, I've always loved art. I think for me, art, music, all of the things were based on feelings. And I think that I've always been someone that has felt very deeply. And so discovering these things at a young age, I still love the things that I loved when I was younger. And I think a lot of it is going back to childhood. We go through life, we grow, we learn, we have these experiences. And I think part of the journey is going back to our childhood and rediscovering the things that made us feel alive then. So that's kind of what took me to all of those different paths, to New York, to fashion, and how horses always kind of stayed in the background in a way. And now they're very much on the forefront again.
I just learned recently that the Savannah College of Art and Design has like a huge equestrian program. And I think it's so interesting to me that it's weird because it's my 2 passions too. And I sort of thought I was unique. There's so many people that are like horse people and fashion/design people. I want to do like a scientific study and find out what the part of the brain is that reacts to those same things.
Totally. And I think it's emotion. I think because horses bring out such emotion in people, and especially creatives, there have been studies done around the energy that horses give off and how it affects us emotionally, and people that are attracted to that. Like, there are certain people that are attracted to that. And I don't know if it's also like, because a lot of creative people or artists, and maybe this is just like, a thought that I have, but are also pretty independent people and independent thinkers. And for me, being with horses, especially at a young age, felt more comfortable and natural sometimes than being in big groups of friends or big groups of people. I really loved that like connection. So I think people that are creative are just attracted to horses. There's something about them that
so funny.
Is just magical.
So you got yourself to New York. Well, how did you get yourself to New York? What did you do?
So backing up a little bit, high school was a little rough for me. My parents were going through a divorce and I was rebelling in any way that I could at that point. So, it was like, I wasn't the best student. I barely graduated high school.
No way, really?
It was like, yeah, I was like really, I was kind of going through it and trying to like stick it at my parents in any way that I could. I mean, teenage years are rough in general. And then when you have all this other like crap going on. So I went to FIT, I got into FIT and I did a couple semesters there. I was much more interested in being in New York at that time. What's crazy to me is that I love being a student. So now at this point in my life, I'm like, gosh, if I could just go back to school and be a student full time, like that would be like heaven to me. So at that time, I didn't appreciate it and I didn't want it. And I wanted to really kind of have fun. And, this was New York in the 90s. And that was a really fun time in New York. There was a lot going on. I know every generation probably thinks that their time was the most fun time in New York.
But ours was the best. I'm telling you, it was the best.
It really was. There was just so many great places, the music that was happening at that time. Anyway, so I spent a couple semesters at FIT. I knew that I wanted to do something in fashion creatively, but at that time, there was really a couple options. You could go to Pratt, you could go to Parsons, and that was really design-based, or you could go to FIT and they had a business program there. And I didn't realize that there were so many facets in the fashion industry and that you really didn't have to be either a fashion merchandiser in the buying program or a designer, and that was it. But that was really what was offered to us. There was a program called FMM, and that was it. So, I started taking courses within the FMM degree and I was like, I don't think I want to be a buyer. I know I want to do something creative. So I just decided to join the workforce and see what that would be and what that meant. And I was really lucky. I joined a company. It's going to sound funny, but it was called Nat Nast Luxury Originals. And it was a company that was resurrected by two sisters. Their father had started the company right after he came back from World War II in 1947. And it was the original bowling shirt company. He created the bowling shirt.
That is amazing. Oh my God.
It's so cool. So I joined this company. It was very small. It was maybe like 6 people at the time.
Wait, so did you find the job like in the back of Women's Wear Daily? How did you find the job?
That's exactly how I found the job. When you could open up, and I was like circling Women's Wear Daily. I mean, it was exactly how I found it. Okay. And I started there as the receptionist. Like I said, it was a very small company, about 6 people. The 2 sisters, we had a designer, a production person, and like a salesperson. And I wore every damn hat in that company that I could. I stayed there for 6 years.
No way.
And and it grew and I watched it grow and I thought it was so interesting. And I think what I really loved about that company was the storytelling around clothing. I mean, their father dressed Elvis and was in a store called Lansky's in Memphis. And, there's a picture of Hal Lansky like fitting Elvis in one of his shirts. And so it was just so cool to understand and learn. And they were very much committed to really telling a story around what their father had created. The other thing I learned, other than wearing like all the hats that I could, I was doing marketing, I was doing accounts receivable. I mean, really, I did it all there. And I just watched and learned. And what I also saw was how different these two sisters were as women in an industry that I think is difficult to be a leader in, or at least it was at that time. I watched one lead with kindness, with sincerity, authenticity, and I watched the other lead in a way where she felt like she had to be this domineering woman. And I kind of really took note of that and how I wanted to operate always within whatever it was that I did. And so I took the note of lead with kindness and compassion and understanding. So that was also a really amazing lesson for me within that, because I had to have that and carry that on as my journey continued in fashion.
Okay, this is crazy. That is such a great first job. First job in fashion, because it's like so nostalgic, and it's so rare, especially now, that you can find a brand that has real, true history and like real guts. It's so good. Oh, this is so good.
I know. And it was funny because, at that, they were dressing like, Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. It wasn't glamorous. Like there was nothing, glamorous about it. But I made friends there that I still have today. This is like going back 20 years now at this point. And so or more than that. And I still am friends with these people. It was such a good group of people. So the learnings were extraordinary.
Okay, so you stayed there for 6 years, 7 years? What'd you say?
6 years.
6 years.
Maybe it was 7 years. It was about 7 years. I took a little bit of time kind of figuring out what was going to be next. And then I was like, you know what? I've worked for a really small company. I want to work for like one of the biggest now. And it's funny because like everything that I've just decided, I've kind of just done. I don't know if I've been lucky in that way, or if like once I decide on a clear path, it like will open up a bit. And so I took a job at a company called PVH, and nobody's really heard of PVH except that they own Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger. They had the licenses for like every major dress shirt brand, and which is funny, but the pivotal part is that they own Calvin Klein, and we'll kind of come back to that. But I started working there and was very lucky to work next to an executive there. Again, I didn't know the direction that I should go in. Everyone was always pushing me into sales, and I knew I didn't want to be in sales. It felt exhausting to me.
But you were probably good.
Sales.
You were probably good at sales because you were so nice and charming, I bet. Yeah, I was too, and I hated it, but I was really good at it.
Tough.
It was scary to me. It felt like too much pressure to me. I didn't like it.
A lot of pressure because it's all numbers. So it's not like you can I don't know. There was nothing about it that was appealing to me at all. But I started working next to this executive, and his name is Mark Schneider. I'm also still he was like a work dad to me. He pushed me in any direction I wanted to go in. Like literally I was like, hey, I think we should have environmental groups here. We're like in this industry where we're putting all this stuff out into the world that is not good for it. Can we do something even if it's internal to offset it? And he would just let me do it. He's like, sure, start it up.
Oh, I love that.
If you want to, work with a nonprofit, sure, bring them in. And then it was crazy what he let me do. And it was all for the good. And philanthropics became a very big part of also what I did in apparel and fashion, and kind of starting up a bunch of things within that big, huge company. They were like a $4 billion company. And I learned so much there. I actually gained a lot of confidence there working next to him because I was doing things I had never done before at a very high level, at a C-suite level.
I also think when someone has the confidence to just say yes to you, I experienced that in one of my workplaces where I actually called it like a yes place. I would walk into the CEO's office and say the craziest things, really crazy ideas. And he would be like, okay, don't screw it up. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to. And there really is something about having someone just say yes to you and believe in you, that there's no stronger confidence builder than that. Just someone giving you a long enough rope to hang yourself in a way, you know what I mean? And then succeeding and then letting you try something new again. That is huge. And I try to remember that now as a leader. I try to always just be it doesn't have to be my idea. Let people do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. That's a hard thing to let go of too, especially when you're an idea person, but I'm learning that very much as well with every project I work on. So collaboration, all of it.
And sometimes the best things come from just saying yes to it, right? Okay, let's try that. Sure.
Exactly. I know. And like the surprise that comes with it. Yeah, I know. That comes with like evolution and maturity, all those things too. So,
yeah. Okay. So you have this wonderful executive leader / work dad who really helps you believe in yourself by believing in you, which is great.
Totally. And I spent 7 years with him as well. He ended up going to a company called Kenneth Cole that was big in the 90s also and had kind of faded out, and they were trying to resurrect it. And he went on to be the CEO there and brought me with him. And, you know, something he always said to me that still resonates, that I still think about, I used to call them these little pearls that he would, you know, give to each of us. And he said to me, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And that stuck with me so much. And you know, it actually started to like really make sense as soon as we went to Kenneth Cole, because I was kind of like, I don't know where I'm going here. And I don't really want to do this anymore. And I felt a little complacent. I was, you know, good at my job and anything, you know, projects that he would give me that were creative projects, but I felt bored. And WWD comes back in now, and on the cover of WWD in print at that time, and this wasn't that long ago, but they were still, and I love WWD in print, actually. I miss those days of it like landing on your desk.
Totally.
You know? And on the cover was a rumor that Raf Simons was coming to New York to join Calvin. And it hadn't been confirmed yet, but it was like everyone kind of knew. And I was calling all my people at Calvin. And I was like, is this true? Because I had seen the Dior and I documentary and had just totally fallen head over heels for Raf. I thought he was just brilliant. And gosh, you know, if I was ever going to work in that area of fashion, I wanted it to be for someone like that, for someone really creative and brilliant and not just a run-of-the-mill, you know, fashion designer. And I should say that when I was about, you know, I guess like 12 or 13, and everyone else was reading like, you know, 17 magazine at that time was really big. I was reading Vogue and I was reading Elle, and I was so interested in like...
Me too.
I mean, I could tell you every model. I could tell you every like campaign from that time. It was total obsession. And, you know, so that area of fashion, luxury, and very like top of the line was my dream. I mean, that was really what I had always wanted to do. And I just didn't know how to get there. And so when I saw that, I called up a friend that I still had over at PVH and at Calvin. And I said, is he bringing an assistant with him? And he was like, no, he actually wants an American. He's Belgian. He's never lived in New York before. And so he wants an American to be his right hand here. And I was like, all right, I'm sending you over my resume.
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
Put me in. Tag it in. She put her, and of course it hadn't been confirmed yet, but she put in a recommendation letter for me, which I'll always be grateful for. And HR at Calvin was like, sorry, like, no, you don't have the background. You don't have luxury. And like, why would you think that you're a good fit for this? And I think I said something like, well, just give me 10 minutes with him and he can decide that.
I love this part of this story so much. Because like cojones, like good job, right? Like I think about some of the things that I asked for when I was like 20 that I now I just didn't even think not to. And I just think it's like such a testament to your own instinct and your just and tenacity and your sort of decisiveness and focus of just being like, I'm just going to keep going after this. Like, even though I don't technically have the like pedigree behind me, I don't have the resume necessarily like at all. And so, yeah, give me 10 minutes with him.
That's it.
Okay. So how did the 10 minutes go? Tell us. He said yes.
Agreed. And yeah, so what I didn't know at that point is that they had already interviewed, you know, about 50 people.
No way.
And yeah, so my interview was 3 phases all in one day. And it was, I had to meet with HR first because they had to make sure that I was like not a crazy person. I meet with HR. They're like, okay, come back in like 3 hours. He can see you in 3 hours. I come back and it's him, and I step into an office that was Calvin's old office. So it's not even like it's just like some little like HR office. It's like,
no, it's like Calvin's holy ground.
Holy shit. Exactly. And I come in and it's Raf, it's HR, and it's Raf's boyfriend, just like behind a computer, just like listening, because I knew I was also being judged and like how that's going to go. And then Raf's dog, Luca, walks in, and Luca comes to me, takes a sip of my water that was on the table and sits down. And I could see Raf's face like, she doesn't do that to anyone. And I was like, I just knew from that moment, I knew, and I was suddenly like put at ease.
Wait, hold on. We need to back up. I need to know what you wore to this interview.
Great question. I went really simple. I went very like Helmut Lang 90s. So I just did white shirt, had a really big arm opening. It was August, so it was hot out. Black, well-tailored pants and an actual, it was a Margiela bag. I had a Margiela bag. I think that helped too.
Okay.
Celine loafers.
Okay. I just needed to know. I feel like that would make me nervous. It would make me nervous.
It was definitely nerve-wracking. I got up at like 5 that morning and went for a run, I remember, because I was like, I need to just like get out of my head about this. But I will say I wasn't like a fangirl about Raf. Like I appreciated him and I loved him. And I think that there were some people, it's funny, he's a magnetic person and I feel like there's a cult following around him. And I wasn't that. I wasn't like a Raf Simons person. Yeah, exactly. Because there was tons of those, but I felt like I just loved his brain. I just loved the way he thought and the way that he created. And what was inspiring to me was that Raf was an industrial designer as a background. He wasn't a fashion designer. I found that incredibly inspiring. And also that he didn't have the technical skills that other designers had. So he couldn't draw or sketch or use CAD or computers. Like he just had an idea and would show the inspiration and it would be created based on that. I found that incredibly inspiring. So I had this interview.
So the dog sits down next to you.
Yeah, the dog sits down, takes a drink of my water, and he's like, Luca, like she like literally lays down next to me. And then Raf starts talking to me, giving me background and and he comes to me, he's like, okay, so now you tell me about you. And my mind went blank.
You're like, me? Who's me? I don't know who me is.
Looking around like, me? And, so I tell him what I've been doing and I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of like going downhill. There's like no energy. And he goes, let me ask you a question. If $1 million fell out of the sky today, where would you go shopping? And, I kind of took a minute and I was like, I think I'm going to need 2 million actually. And he started laughing and was like, okay, like, the conversation went from there. And I left and an hour later I got a call that I had gotten the job. So it was just, I
just got goosebumps.
It was really exciting for me. And I knew that my trajectory was going to change from that moment. And I was really excited about that too. I didn't know what that meant quite yet, but I knew it would change. And it was hard. I will say this, that, I worked with Raf for 7 years. That first 3 months was incredibly difficult. It was working next to a creative, which I had never done before, at a level that I had never operated at before, meaning with people and decisions and it was a whole different world to me. And then there was the internal dynamics as well, that go on within a creative house that you don't know about from the outside until you're in it. And it's relationships and dynamics. And I was used to very straightforward and direct. And this was very nuanced. So I had to learn quickly, and I did. And after those first 3 months, I became a trusted ally to Raf, and I would have protected him, and I still would, with everything that I have, because I think that he's incredible. He has a reputation for being difficult, and he is, because he knows what he likes, but man, he's a really good person, and I really enjoyed learning next to him. I traveled all over the world with him, and he took me anywhere he was going, and literally into every meeting he was going into.
Wow.
So I learned from the ground up.
I was going to say, but like talk about baptism by fire, but also like, it's so amazing how much you can learn just by being in the room, right? Like just the exposure to the conversations and the level of, and being around someone's brain. I mean, also when you say he's difficult, like find me a creative who's not difficult, like also like, and they're not bad people at all. It's just their jobs are incredibly hard. And they also need people around them who can like protect their creative space and their creative energy and all that stuff. So it becomes a really important role. I've played that role as a PR person to people often because you're their person. You're the person they're with all the time. And you have to manage stuff around them to protect their energy and their space and their psyche.
It's so much of it. It's like I say that the job can really be done by anyone. You know, any person can do what goes into like the day to day, but in order to really have chemistry with someone that way and mesh and be trusted is a whole different territory and category. And like you said, protecting the space to be a creative. Because there's a lot of pressure, you know, at that level, there's so much pressure. So yeah, I feel so incredibly lucky that I got to sit in on those conversations and see the evolution from very beginning of a brand being created, because you had Calvin Klein before and then Calvin Klein, you know, after Raf came in. So that for me was like, okay, this is how it's done. And that this is the only way I really know now of how to create something. And that once the idea is there, and something that he taught me, because I witnessed this in every meeting, was that if you have an idea, it will happen. It can happen. Like if the idea is there, it can be created. Always.
I love that. I love that. It's like the idea is the first step of the creation. And yeah, that's pretty cool.
It may evolve and it may change, but the idea, like you said, it's the first step. It means it can happen. Yeah.
I think that too, like I try to say this with my kids, and like, it's such a simple concept, like that your ideas matter, right? Like, I think that's also part of like even what you learned with your other boss of like if you had an idea and then someone said yes to it, you could create some giant initiative. You could create some amazing campaign. You could do something crazy. It's like, it really is such a simple thing to honor and foster your own ideas. And that I don't know that I was raised necessarily to like foster my ideas, you know, like I'm not sure people gave them the weight that they should have when I was growing up, you know? And so I think that that's just like an interesting concept. Like if you're raising kids or you're running a team or whatever, like the idea matters.
Right.
It's so simple.
The idea really matters. Yeah. I think too, growing up, I think that our parents didn't really know how important that was too. I think now that we have this generation of very like woke parents where it's like, yes, like go chase the dream, do the thing. And for us, I'm sure every household was different, but for me, it was kind of like, okay, sure, do the things creatively, but then have something practical that you'll fall back on or that you'll do that will make you a stable life type of thing. But yeah.
Well, I think it's true too. I think I didn't understand it even when I decided to go to fashion school also. Like I didn't understand that like just being a creative person, I could have a job doing that, you know, like that wasn't like a reality for me until many years into the fashion industry, I think. But that like somebody who just has great ideas and has great taste, that can be a job, you know?
Right. Exactly. That can shape things.
Yeah.
You know, and it really always has, like if we think about it, but we were only ever seeing it on a really high level, I think. And so, yeah, there's so much out there. And, you know, now learning all that, I'm like, gosh, I could have done that. I could have done this. And I know I'm making it seem like my years and my trajectory were really just only focused on career. It was a big part of it. And I think part of it for me also was that I didn't have the education. And so I felt like I did have to work really damn hard at what I was doing to prove myself because I didn't have the pedigree, the education, all the other things. So it created this like my work ethic was and has always been incredibly strong because of that, you know? There was a little bit of shame around it too, that I didn't go to this like amazing school. I didn't even finish college. And so it was like, I don't know, I just felt like I had to prove myself in a lot of ways.
Did you still feel like that even once you were working with Raf? Like you still felt that way?
No, I think that he saw something in me that validated what I had inside creatively, and as a person too, you know, I think that would have never occurred to him that I couldn't do the job or that my ideas didn't count because I didn't have the schooling or education or, you know, any of that to do it.
Yeah.
That didn't even occur to him. It was like, no, I know your brain and I know who you are as a person and I trust what you do. I trust your thoughts.
And so you basically sort of became his like right hand for everything, his sort of chief of staff kind of too. Like you were sort of like...
Director of Creative Operations was the name that we gave it. But I was an emotional support human as well. So it was... You know, I hired his staff. I did everything for him. Creatively, everything that came out of his head or went back to him had to come through me, except for design. He had two amazing creatives working on his team that he brought with him from Dior and from Europe. And that was Mathieu Blauzet, who is now the creative director at Chanel, and Peter Moulier, who was at Alaïa and now is going to Versace. So I got to work alongside.
Not a shabby lineup there.
I mean, it was pretty great.
So they did everything product design. And anything else creative you did. Yeah.
Exactly. From the ready-to-wear and runway, they worked with Raf on that. And I really just stuck to all the other creative divisions, which was store design, marketing, PR, fragrance, you name it. Anything that creatively came from that company and from his brain had to go, from me. And I feel so lucky. I got to work next to amazing artists. I got to work with, George Condo and Sterling Ruby and Collier, I think about it now and I'm like, was that a dream? Did this all happen?
Was that a fever dream?
It was like I couldn't have even dreamt it. Truly stepping into that, I couldn't have imagined what.
And you didn't really have an art background either. So that was all a massive immersion into incredible
also artists
too. Yeah.
I had a deep love and appreciation. My love of art, went back to really my own discovery of it, of, abstract expressionists, but I didn't have a very deep understanding of modern and contemporary art. I should say contemporary. Modern art, I did have a pretty deep understanding of, but not working alongside these artists,
Right.
And,
very few people get to do that.
Cindy Sherman would come in and we would do a fitting with her and blah, blah, blah. And it was wild, but I learned about design. Literally from day one. I remember he said to me, "Do you know who Corbusier is?" And he just taught me it was like really having a teacher. He taught me all about Chandigarh in India and that, the genre chairs came from there and that he collects them. And it was incredible. That was my education. That was my schooling.
And he wasn't upset that you didn't know those things, that you didn't know who Corbusier was at the time.
No, I think he thought I was smart and interested and that I would learn. And I did. I have 2 genre chairs now. So,
girl.
But it was my education for sure, and the travel. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the exposure, right? To everything.
Yeah. I feel lucky.
So you guys stayed at Calvin together for how many years?
It was a little over 3 years. And then Calvin and Raf decided to part ways. And so they split. And, he said to me, "I don't know what you have planned after this, but there's something on the horizon." And so he already knew that Prada was happening. But
you did not.
He told me, but I was supposed to not know. And so I just kind of was like, okay, well, in this time, what am I going to do to, I did take some time off. I traveled and, spent some time kind of decompressing from that experience because it was an intense 3.5 years. So, I kind of thought about what was next. And vintage has always, been, we started every collection with vintage. For me, part of my youth and part of my rebellion in youth would be skipping school to go into New York and not to buy drugs or anything. It was to go vintage shopping.
Yeah.
And so I would go to Antique Boutique on Broadway and buy the best vintage jeans around. So good. I still dream about a pair that I don't know what happened to them, but so anyway, vintage was always a big part of just my own fashion interest. And a job came up. So the Real had been going strong for a couple of years at this point. And there was a job, a friend of mine worked with them. And I said, your vintage is really, it's priced really strangely and there's not enough around it because there was good pieces on there. You were finding YSL from the 70s, from the Russian collection at for $100, which was kind of this insider secret. So I didn't want to ruin it for everyone. But I was you guys should be doing something better with the vintage. And so they created a position for me there. I only stayed with them for 6 months, but I worked on helping to launch their vintage program there so that it was recognized and looked at in a way of instead of just being thrown in with the rest of the things. And so that didn't last long.
You kind of did ruin it for everybody.
I kind of ruined it.
It.
I know now I look at because I would find Bonnie Cashin on there. They didn't know. I also helped them bring in brands that wouldn't have been recognized by the Real as being important brands to take in. Mm-hmm. So it was an uphill battle there. I'll say that, but they started making Bonnie Cashin really expensive now, which I apologize to everyone for that. But so I spent a few months there, and that's when the call from Raf came in. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come to Milan with me? I'm going to be co-creating with Miuccia. And that I didn't know that that was going to be the plan, that it was a co-creation. I thought that she was going to step down or step over to Miu Miu. I wasn't really sure. And I was like, oh my God, like, also a dream. Like Miuccia Prada for me was from, again, the time that I was like, 12 years old, like Prada was it. That was like the epitome. It's all I wanted to, I still remember those collections very, very well too. So I said yes without hesitation. I had other things in my life and commitments in my life, and it was very supported, all over, that I go to Italy and I take this job. And it was my dream.
I mean, it's kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
You can't say no to that.
You don't get that call very often. Like, hey, want to come work alongside Miuccia Prada and Raf Simons? Like, sure.
Yeah,
no, I think I'm going to just stay home and make vintage expensive.
I don't need to do that.
I got to do my nails. I'm busy.
I'll think about it. So I said yes. That was 2019. Signed my contract in December of 2019, and February, whatever the day was that Milan was cleared out because of COVID, was literally the day the announcement went out, February 20th or like something like that of 2020. I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I remember I was in Joshua Tree with friends celebrating a birthday. And I remember being like, this is no big deal, you guys. Like, this is not like, whatever, who cares? It's going to be fine. Because we were supposed to start in April. And that just, got totally railroaded. But I ended up going anyway in June. So we were working remotely from April until June. And then I moved to Milan by myself in a full Tyvek suit on a plane.
Oh my God. Wait, you have to tell the story. You were flying on a plane back and forth to Milan from New York, and it was like empty. And you were in a Tyvek suit. There
was literally like 6 people on an entire plane. I would have a whole row to myself. It was the airports were totally empty. It was so scary and strange. And I was doing this every 6 weeks because my visa wasn't complete yet. And so you had to go back and forth, even though it was the most dangerous thing to do. So and then I would have to spend 10 days in this apartment by myself when I got back, because you had to then go into quarantine as soon as you got back. It was that also seems like a dream. It's did that really all happen? It's so crazy.
So wild.
So, so I get to Milan, and Prada puts me in this incredible apartment that Portalupi had designed on the Sforza estate where Leonardo's vineyard is. And no one could come visit me. I was in this incredible place, and not one person was able to see that. And then I met Mrs. Prada, and that all just kind of evolved over the next 2 years. I spent 2 years there. I gave Raf a year notice. So after the first year and the end was not in sight, I gave him a year's notice. And I was like, I can't.
You were like, this is too hard.
Longer.
It's
this
too
much.
Already picking up my life and moving to Milan would have been hard, but this is crazy town.
Totally. It's the juice wasn't worth the squeeze anymore,
Yeah.
So
you gave him a year notice, and was he so sad?
So, every week it was are you sure? I had I love New York mug on my desk that I always, would drink my coffee out of. And he would take Post-its and put Milan over the New York part. So it was tough. And, you develop it was just us. We had Raf, myself, and then Emily, she was his design director, who had also come from Calvin. And it was just the 3 of us. It was a pretty lonely time, I have to say. It's you create family in any way that you can. And so luckily I had friends that were in Milan also at Bottega and other fashion houses. But it just wasn't, I didn't feel happy, and even though I was working this dream job, it just didn't feel good to me anymore. Yeah. And so that's where, the next steps kind of started to form.
So you have this on paper dream job, in real life, not so dream scenario.
Wow.
You're working alongside 2 legends. And I have worked for the Prada family, and I know how difficult it can also be.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go down that road too much, but
we know
not an easy, warm and fuzzy place to be. And so you have to make this like heartbreaking decision. Or was it heartbreaking? Maybe it wasn't heartbreaking. Was it so miserable that it was easy to make that decision?
It was yes and no. It was not difficult to make the decision to leave the company, to be quite honest. But it was very difficult to make the decision to leave Raf, because it was like my brother, and I knew I would miss it. I would miss the creativity. I would miss all of it. But at the same time, I think my body and my psyche and emotionally, I was ready for something else. Fashion also didn't feel so important to me anymore. It's funny, as the world was going through this like craziness and awfulness, I really started to reassess priorities and what was important to me and, what I felt passionate about. And fashion just wasn't it, to be honest. So once that goes out of you, it's like, okay, well, let's start doing something that does feel right and that does feel good. Because again, I was looking at it as like, we are pumping all this shit out into the world that it doesn't need. It's funny because I'd always had the desire to be in fashion, but anytime I was really in it or in these big parts of the industry, I felt like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? It's so much.
Yeah.
So I started to really listen to that and listen to that inner knowing and that inner voice. And I was in Florence. I'd taken the train to Florence and I was standing in front of the painting Primavera by Botticelli. And I remember just like standing there and looking at how beautiful it was. And the goddess Flora was in it. And I just stood there and I was like, maybe I start something on my own. And I was very inspired by that painting and by what it represented and spring and abundance and all those things. So, and beauty. And beauty has always been a big influence for me. What can we surround ourselves that makes us feel beautiful or perceive beauty? And it's also different for everyone, but I thought it was important at this time also in the world. So,
yeah.
So that was pivotal.
So you gave him a year's notice. You kept working, but did you start trying to like build this other idea while you were in that year? Yeah.
I started ideating and I started thinking about what it meant, and that, I thought about how I'd always wanted a space of my own. And yes, that means a shop, but also just a space that kind of brings people together and also brings beautiful objects and travels from the world and like experiences that we can have together. I didn't know what that meant yet at that point, but I remember sitting around a table and kind of telling some people my idea. And I was like, I just want it to be a place to gather people. And she's like, well, I think you have your name. I think you have it there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Gather, and then I started thinking about, well, how do I want to start that? And so I didn't know yet. And in the year that I'd given him the notice, I was coming back and forth. I was kind of going through this like life shakeup and didn't know where my future really was lying. And I'd been living in Brooklyn for 15 years at this point. And anytime I came back, it just did not feel good anymore. I think after living in a city that is very beautiful and being in Europe, lots of people don't picture or think that Milan is beautiful, but I thought it was just incredibly beautiful. And New York just didn't feel right to me anymore. So it was all these it was really hard because all these things that felt so important to me for so long, New York, fashion, the way that I was living my life, it just no longer felt important.
It's such a weird feeling too when that happens, because it's like, those are things that you strived for, right?
Oh
like as a kid, you wanted to get yourself to New York City. Like as a kid reading Vogue, you wanted to do that. And then you like did it. And then it's so weird. I had a very similar experience where all of a sudden you're like, oh,
what is
I don't
this?
want this anymore. Like this doesn't feel good. Not only do I not want it, I don't like it. Like it's just it's a very weird thing when you've spent many of your formative years, like having that become part of your identity also.
I know,
right?
Very much.
Yeah.
But I think it does go back to having to start listening to the inner child again, that's still there and saying to you like, okay, but what about this? Remember how much you loved horses? Remember how much you loved nature and that you've always wanted to be surrounded by nature. And so I started listening to that, and I started just quieting everything else down, closed out my time with Raf, came back fully to New York, and then decided to fully leave New York. and started looking for what felt right. And I found a house in Litchfield County in Connecticut. You know, it's funny. I had this idea in my head of what I wanted, and the house did not look like that. But when I stepped in, it was like, it had been like a big hug, and the energy. And I was just like, this is it. Like, this is the place that I'm going to spend my time for, you know, I don't know how long, but I'm here now and I feel so lucky and I love it. And that's where Flora was really born. You know, I decided to start something on my own and be brave again and have a little bit of tenacity again and figure it out. So.
And do you look back now that like you have these two brands, you have this beautiful home that you're in, you did the things you wanted to do and you're still doing them. Do you have moments where you look back and you're like, do you miss any of that other stuff? Do you miss the life in Milan? Do you miss the life in New York City? Do you miss being in those meetings and talking about all that amazing art and being surrounded with those artists and stuff?
Sometimes I wish that I could just like, you know, teleport for a little bit. And like, luckily I have the relationships with all of those people still. So I'm still able to like have it peripherally. I don't miss it though. I really don't. I don't miss the stress and the pressure of it. That to me was really, when you're in it, you're in autopilot and you're just going and you're running on adrenaline. And I don't think I could go back to getting my body into that like level of stress again, to be honest. Like it was.
No, I mean, because it takes years to decompress from it.
Oh my God,
think.
I'm still decompressing. Like for sure, I'm still decompressing.
Yeah.
But, you know, part of the catalyst of coming up here too was horses. And that for me will like always be, it's like my North Star or something, you know? And so like the moment I started riding again, when I came up here, that was it. It was like, okay, I'm home.
Had you ridden at all? Like when you were living in Brooklyn and stuff, were you going back and forth or no?
I tried, honestly. I had some really depressing experiences. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's people have said. Yes.
I tried riding at the barn that's in Brooklyn and that was terrible. I did ride when I was like early days in New York. I rode at Claremont a little bit, which was, I feel like also depressing, but I didn't realize it at the time because it was just this like New York Academy in the middle of New York. Yeah. So, and I would, any chance I got to ride, I would ride, but it wasn't anything serious. Like I wasn't doing it in any meaningful way. And then the minute I moved up here is when I started riding again. And, you know, I've been up here for 3 years now and my horse came into my life a year ago. So that, you know, just also sparked even more.
Also, like, can we talk about that? Like people don't usually like just say a horse came into my life
he truly
a year ago.
I wasn't looking and I, you know, it was one of those things where this is a dream come true for me. Like I have to say, like from the moment that I started riding, I was trying to figure out how to convince my parents that I needed a horse. I had to have a pony.
Of course.
And
yes. I'm on the end of that conversation on a daily basis. Yeah.
Good luck.
It'll happen. It's fine.
It'll totally happen.
Sirius XM Radio, are you listening to give me a deal so I can buy my kid a horse? Please.
Please. This woman needs a horse.
Please.
Yeah, I wasn't looking, but a friend of mine overheard a conversation at a dinner party. A woman saying that she didn't know what she was going to do because they were moving back to Ireland and she had to find a home for her daughter's horse. And my friend said, I might have someone for you. And stars aligned, and Carlo was living in Ocala, Florida, and I trailered him up here sight unseen because what I felt after spending 2 years at that point of being back in the equestrian world was a very different set of eyes than I had as a child on the horse world and how screwed up it was. And I wanted to give back in any way that I could to these horses that work so damn hard and then are discarded when they're no longer of use. And he was, you know, left in Florida for, I guess it was 8 years. And so I said, bring him up. I don't care what he needs health-wise. I had a pre-purchase exam done, but only a wellness check. I didn't care. It was like, well, if he needs help, I'm going to help him. And so we brought him up and yeah, we've been a pair ever since. He's an incredible animal. He's teaching me so much. I almost have too much respect for him to ride him. You know, it's like, he's just incredible and resilient also. And so I think that he and I kind of have that, you know, for each other, that we have resilience and that we can, you know, overcome whatever adversity.
How old is he? Do you know how old he is?
He just turned 20. Yeah, 20 this last month in March, he turned 20. So, and he's, you know, there's been, you know, certain issues and we're working through them. Like it's just, having patience, and we're a team. So,
He's your little soulmate.
I love him.
that.
Seriously. I said that. I said, as soon as he got off the trailer, I was like, I think I have a soul contract with this animal. Like, I think that he was meant to be in my life. So.
And you can ride him now?
Yeah. So I bareback him.
Can he does he jump or anything? Or is he
jumps. Yeah, no, he likes being outside. So he likes, when we go and do a little cross country and go out on the trails, he likes popping over logs. And I could jump him. I mean, he was a hunter. He did all the big shows. He did Capital Challenge. He did Devon. He did all these shows. So yeah, he had a hard-working life before he came to me.
Aww.
Yeah.
I love that he found you. That's so nice. Okay. So now you've launched your vintage business. You've launched Gather. You've got your horse. You've got your house. It's all happening.
Yeah. It's all, every day there's some kind of evolution of it. And I feel very lucky. The community and the people that I've met from just launching these little brands has been exponential. And I think that for me has been, I got to meet you. I got to meet, Alex and Emily, all these people that have come in from this very short period of time. I think that is the greatest gift. I get to create, I get to do it the way that I want, the way that I see it with my own vision. I don't have to ask for permission or approval. And I think, for me, it's kind of like that adage of if you think it, you can make it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's like any weird, crazy idea that I have, it's like, okay, let's try it. Let's do it.
It's interesting because your career has sort of been this balance also of I always like to get into the business side and the creative side, because I find that they're often very different people. Sometimes there's just a person who is purely creative, and sometimes there's people who are purely business, but you've sort of danced that dance over and over again.
Yeah.
Which one is the most natural? Where do you lead from? Is there a balance? Does one need to be more cultivated than the other? Can we talk a little bit about how that lives in you?
It's more balanced now. I think that growing up when I didn't think that I was as creative or didn't have the creative confidence, that I had really cultivated the business side and the organization side. My brain definitely, I'm very left brain, right brain. And I think that because I'm so organized and I can think in a very systematic way, that I'm able to do the creative now in a way that makes sense and it's not all over the place. So it's I know the steps that need to happen in order to produce something. So I'm able to do it in a way that makes sense. But I had to cultivate the creative side, actually, even though that was always in me. I had to figure out a way to bring it up and out, because the business side was boom, I know what has to get done. I know how to do it. And I felt much more confident in that.
That's interesting.
But it's true. Yeah. A lot of the time people can't do both. You're one or the other.
Well, and I also think I sort of at a time when I decided to go to fashion school and kind of chose the business path over the design path because I didn't think I could be a designer. I just didn't. I didn't have any experience. Why would I have had to experience when I was 17 years old, really? But I talked myself out of that and thought that I couldn't do it. And so I spent a lot of my early career not honoring the creative side, thinking I was purely just a business person. And so I think it was actually one job that I had where I got to be very, very, very involved in creative. And I was all of a sudden wait, your name is creative director, or your name is head of creative services, but we're executing on my idea. Exactly. That was actually my idea that happened. And again, not as a territorial thing, but as hey, wait a minute.
The spark.
Going back to what we were talking about, the idea is the thing, right?
Exactly.
So I had to cultivate that a little bit, nurture that one and give it the attention it deserved, I think. So I thought that's interesting. I think you kind of had to do the same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you've had lots of achievements. You've basically decided so many things and then done them. What is an achievement that you're most proud of?
Ooh, I think having nothing to do with career or accolades, I think an achievement I'm most proud of is doing the work, doing the inner work to heal and to be the person that I am right now. And that was hard. That was a lot of therapy, a lot of just work, meditation, and putting the time in. And I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the person that I have become because I was very willing to self-awarely know where there was things that weren't so great. And it's an, ongoing process, but I'm proud of that. That's
huge.
An accomplishment.
Yeah, that is. That's huge. So is there anything that you once believed about yourself that now you've outgrown?
I think that for a long time I thought, the creative we talked about, I didn't think I was, a creative person, but I also don't think I thought I was very smart in a lot of ways, and I think it goes back to that shame around education because of, that's just how people's life paths are supposed to go. You go through primary school, high school, college, onto whatever the next higher. And I didn't have any of that really, So I think that I just thought I wasn't very smart, and I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah. I have a friend who chose the go straight to work path after high school. And she's an incredible business person, always has been, grew up in her parents' businesses. But I always felt like she had this insecurity around it and this feeling and she never had a problem getting jobs, but she would always be afraid if the company she was working for was going to change ownership or she would have to interview again or something. She had this sort of fear that it was going to go back to that moment. And I always would say you have a career now, you've done so many things, but she still carried it around as a 40-year-old person. Yeah. Oh God, what if they want to see my resume and they want to know where I went to college and I didn't. And I'm if for no other reason to I had this conversation with a niece of mine of if for no other reason, just go to college just to remove that obstacle of your own psyche. Again, not because you need it, of just sort of just do the thing so that you don't have to worry about not doing the thing. And we can have a bigger conversation about that. But I just watched it feel like a debilitating thing for her, which was sad to me because she's brilliant and has an amazing work ethic and stuff. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, some people more than others. It's something that sticks with you. And so I've learned to let that go. That's part of that healing journey.
Good job. I like it. Is there anything that you've said no to that you wish you had said yes to?
I feel like I've said yes to so many things. I probably said yes to too many things.
You're not alone on this podcast. Many people are yes people on this podcast.
There may have been no's that I trips that I didn't take, experiences that maybe I didn't take part in because I was working so damn hard. Mm-hmm. I think those are probably the no's that I do regret a little bit. I don't remember what those are now, so they couldn't have been too broken up about them. But I think just say yes to the trip, say yes to the experience, go to the concert. Those no's I probably regret.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely, there's a 15-year black hole where I feel I just didn't do any of the things.
Right.
I went to some of the weddings, but I didn't go to the bachelorette party in Miami and I didn't go to the concert. I didn't go to the ski weekend. I was so nose to the grindstone for so long. And that part makes me sad. Yeah. I look back on that and I'm I wish I had I should have said yes to that.
Yeah, that's it. I know.
And it's you kind of, I have kids now, so I'm not going to really have those opportunities again, it's hard.
You never know.
You never know. Smoking pot on a weekend in Big Bear, with some hot boys, maybe I should have done it then. Probably not appropriate to do now.
That sounds so fun.
I think my husband might have some feelings about the hot boys, just those kind of things. But, and again, I loved my career and I was so passionate about it and I wanted to learn it and do it. But I didn't, not that I didn't have fun. I was having a different, but I didn't really do things that were frivolous.
Right.
Just for the sake of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Okay. So you have dreamt of so many things and you have achieved so many of your dreams and you even got your dream horse. This is crazy. So what are you dreaming about now? What's next?
I think that space that I spoke about when I was first thinking about Flora, I really want a space to continue the creativity within. So an extension, an actual physical extension of, everything I've been dreaming up. So kind of a space to combine Gather and Flora in one and, have beautiful vintage clothes, have really good wine and make things and also have art in there and also bring people together, the creatives in my life that I think deserve to be highlighted and shown. And I want it to be a beautiful space. I am like picturing it. It has like a back garden and, you know, it's light filled. And so I think that's next, is creating that actual physical space.
Can you create it like very near me, please?
Sure. Absolutely. That's
Thanks.
also the dream, because it's horse country. So.
Can it just be really close so I can come every day? Thanks.
Yeah, come hang out. Yeah, you don't have to craft. I know you don't like to craft, but you can drink wine.
I shouldn't make such a broad statement about the not crafting. I'm sure there are crafts that I would like to do. I just don't like crocheting.
Oh, no. I don't like crocheting. I don't want to crochet.
I'm going to open myself back up because I feel like maybe I shut things down.
I kind of like this. It's a good challenge. We'll find the craft that you like to do and I'll create the next Gather event around that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun? Okay.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm down for that.
Okay,
I'll be open to that challenge. Okay, so now we're at the very, very exciting point in this interview where we get the hardcore lightning round of silly questions.
Okay.
Some of them are food related, but not all. What is your favorite comfort food?
Oh, favorite comfort food would be mac and cheese.
Oh my God.
Like on
Take
a cold
number.
day.
So many people on this podcast. Yep, I love it.
Okay.
It's such a good one. What was your first paid job? First time you ever exchanged work for money?
I was a paper girl.
You had a paper route?
Yes, I did.
Did you do it on your bike or did you walk or drive?
I walked it.
Did you have one of those big crossbody satchels?
I did. It had a neon sash and it was cream colored. The bag was cream colored. Yep.
Oh, chic.
It was chic. It was kind of chic. Had a flap.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember how much you got paid?
God, no, it was very minimal. I mean, I think I made like, $35 a week or something like that.
Nice.
That was with tips.
Wow. I don't think I knew paper. Yeah, I guess paper people get tips. Okay. What is something you are really good at?
Oh, I am really good at parallel parking. Like I can do it with my eyes closed, basically. I freak everyone out in the car because I don't really have to look. I don't know where it came from. I'm really good at it.
Superpower. I like it. What's something you're really bad at?
Remembering people's names, time management, and remembering people's names. It's like someone tells me their name and I literally go like this. I don't know what that is.
I know. Yeah, I am kind of bad at it. And then I get panicked. Then I actually second guess myself and I know their name. I know it, but I'm too afraid to say it because I'm afraid I'm wrong. I don't have faith in my ability to do it. We need to come up with a game. You're supposed to make a rhyming thing or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to learn that too.
I feel you. What is your favorite word?
Reciprocity.
Ooh.
I like that word a lot. I like saying it and I like what it means.
Yes. Reciprocity. I like that. It's a really good one. Okay. Least favorite food. So deal breaker, not crossing your lips.
So cilantro, and I wish it wasn't cilantro, but I'm one of those people that has the gene where it tastes like soap.
It tastes like soap?
And it's so messed up, yes. Because I love food with cilantro in it, but cilantro and me are just, no.
It's such a weird thing. I have several friends.
It's so awful.
Yeah. So what do you do at a Mexican restaurant?
I kind of have just forced myself to deal with it. I'll take it off if it's garnished on and I will take it out little by little. But guacamole is one of my favorite foods. So I have to just deal with it in guacamole. But it's hard.
Oh, it's so sad. It's really depressing. Yeah.
I know.
I mean, it's not like I love cilantro, but I just feel like it's adjacent to so many things that I do love.
Totally.
Including guacamole and margaritas. And so you just have to yeah.
I know.
Okay. Least favorite word.
So it's not the words that I hate. It's the way that they're used. When the word yummy or delicious is used about anything other than food, I hate it. It's when someone sees a bag and they're like, oh, that's so yummy. Or I don't know. It grosses me out or something. Really? It's a weird thing.
I think I say that sometimes. I think I say it more about people though. I think I say it about animals and children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not good. I don't think I would say it about a handbag.
That was just an example, but yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you said that something that you ate was delicious, I'd be like, yeah, I get that.
What if you were talking about a male specimen? A man. Could he be delicious?
No. I'd be like, oh, you call them yummy?
I don't know if I'd say yummy. Yeah, I might. Oh, God, I have to be careful now when I see you.
Watch it, Joe.
I might be like, ooh, he's yummy. Like, yeah, I might. Oh, okay. Now we know. There's a rift. There's a rift in our love affair already. Oh dear. Okay. Other than riding horses, do you have any other hobbies?
I do yoga as much as I can. I like to paint. Also, I'm not good at it, but I love doing it. You know, it's just like one of those things that feels like a nice release to me. So yeah, painting and yoga and running. Not great at that either, but I still do it.
Best piece of advice you've ever received? You might have said it before. I don't know if it was that guy about the roads.
Oh, well, yeah, what Mark said was definitely, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. But I think something else, and I don't remember who said this to me, but it stuck with me, and I think about it often, is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And for me, that's huge because it's true. Like the care that you put into just the simplest things translates into the largest things. And that's something I like, a credo of mine for sure.
I love that. I feel like I was just having this conversation with my aunt came to visit and she was like, you're going crazy. What are you doing? Like we were like doing this spread for Easter, you know, and it was just like everything had to be the way I wanted it to be. Yeah. And she was kind of like, are you like, it seems sort of like over the top and it seems like it's stressful. And I was like, it's not stressful for me. Mm-mm. It actually would be stressful for me if I didn't do it the way I want to do it. And this is how I like to do things. Yes. And it feels like, just like you're not hosting 1,000 people and it's not royalty. And I was like, but it's my family and it makes me happy. And it's funny. It's sort of like my husband and I are very similar in that way. Like one of our love languages is like hosting people, but it's also like the way you do that is how you do everything, I think. So exactly. It's an interesting thing to think about. Like, yeah.
You and I are simpatico that way. I'm the same. I would be stressed if it wasn't like, I don't know, done in a way where there's care and love. And maybe sometimes that's over the top.
Yeah. And I have friends who I love dearly, like love them. But they're not great hosts, you know, like you go to their house and you're like, I just want to like, and again, it's not being ungrateful. It's just like a totally different brain and they're wonderful people who do wonderful things for me and they're hilarious and kind and we always have a wonderful time, whatever. But it's like, there's just a different mentality and they do other things better. Yeah, it's interesting. Exactly. Okay, so if it's the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. The way you do
anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, if your personality were a flavor, what would it be?
Can it be like an ice cream flavor?
It can be any flavor you want. Yeah.
Oh, I think I would be like olive oil gelato with a little salt on it. I think that would be me.
I like it. Okay, Last Supper. What are you eating tonight?
I think I would want dishes that my grandmothers had made and my mother makes. And, you know, I would want like, this is going to sound strange, but my grandmother made this amazing beef stew. I would want that from her. None of it would go together, but they would all be really,
it's going to be a smorgasbord.
Like, comforting for me. Yeah.
Okay. So grandmother's beef stew.
My grandmother's pasta. She makes this Italian wedding soup. These are all soup related or stew related. She made an Italian wedding soup that was amazing. And my mother's apple pie. Like that would be dinner. 2 soups and a pie.
2 soups and a pie. Are you drinking anything with that?
Well, there has to be wine. So, you know, we would do some really, really good Italian wine to go with that stew, I think.
Okay.
You know, something
red,
nice and
white,
hearty.
both?
A Barolo. Yeah, I think, we would start with a red for the first soup. And then we would go to a white for the second.
I like it.
And then, you know, digestive with the apple.
Like an Amaro or like
nice.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you've had to eat your words?
Oh gosh, I think every breakup I've ever gone through, I wish I could probably take some of those words back. You know, my teenage years towards my parents.
Yeah, like a couple years of worth of words.
Yeah, a couple years worth of words for sure.
Yes, yeah. I have one with my mom that I think about all the time. Like, oh, that was horrible. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, you don't have to worry about it nutritionally, like sustaining you. You can just, it's just fun. You can eat it all day, every day. What would it be?
Oh God, I'm trying to think of a food that wouldn't make me wouldn't get sick of. I think watermelon. I love watermelon.
Oh.
I would eat watermelon every day if I could, like now. It's so good.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, where is your happy place?
Let's see. I have a couple. I think on the beach in Maine is definitely my happy place. Just being out in nature in general with my horse. My home. My home is my happy place for sure.
I love that. What did you have for dinner last night?
Hold on.
This one trips people up so much. It's so funny.
Okay. I had a turkey burger and some roasted broccoli and sweet potato fries.
Oh, look at you. So balanced.
And some red wine, because there's red wine with every dinner usually.
I love that. Okay. What do you wear when you feel like you need to take on the world? We already talked about what you wore when you got to take on the world in Raf Simons' office. What do you do now when you have a hot date or you have a big meeting or, something important where you have to feel powerful?
I think I still would go to Prada. Actually, I would wear Prada. Still makes me feel very powerful. I have a beautiful dress from Prada that was from the 2023 collection that it's like an artist canvas and it's been painted on and it has like a flower painted on it. And I feel so good in that dress. So I think that, I would, if I had to go do something really important or make an impression, I would wear that dress.
Okay. Most memorable meal you've ever had?
Well, I can think of a recent one that was memorable. My mom and I traveled to Edinburgh, Scotland, and we went to a place called the Timber Yard. And it was from start to finish, from the moment you walked in to the moment you left, like one of the most lovely, memorable meals. It was unfussy. It was beautiful. They had everything just done right, from the music to, everything about it, the food and how it was brought out, the wines that it was paired with from all over the world, but unfussy. I think that for me is really important. And I think another one would be, my sister lived in Berkeley for a while. She was going to Cal Berkeley, and I ate at Chez Panisse. And that to me was also heaven and so simple.
Yeah. Dreamy. So dreamy.
Yeah. Really wonderful.
What is your go-to coping mechanism on a bad day? So things are going sideways, your website is down, the bad breakup happens. I don't know. What do you do to cope?
Can I say that I smoke cigarettes? I have a cigarette if that's happening.
Yeah, girl, you definitely can say that.
I have a cigarette, or, if it's the end of the day, I'll take a bath. I feel like a bath helps me. A hot bath is really nice. But usually in the moment, it's like, okay, I'm going to go have a cigarette.
Go have a cigarette. Someone told me, I remember reading this piece of advice. This is not about cigarettes, which I could also talk about cigarettes for a very long time just because it's funny. But someone told me, it was actually parenting advice, but I use it now in life. It's like, when they're crabby, put them in water. And so I always think of that. Like when my husband comes home and he's just like neat, I'm like, why don't you go take a bath? Like, I'm not going to say like, you're crabby, you need to get a bath. But like this idea of just like, and even for myself, if I'm like, oh, it's just something, even if I just take a shower, I don't really have a lot of time for baths, but like just take a shower or jump in a pool or like do something. Yes. And it's very funny. And it's like such a silly like childhood thing, but it works.
It's true. There you go. I know.
When you're crabby, get in the bath.
That's right.
Okay. Dream dinner party guest list, dead or alive. They're all going to say yes. They're going to come no matter what. Who's coming? Who are you inviting?
So I have recently been obsessed, maybe not recently, but I've been obsessed for a while with all of the 9th Street women. I think it would be so fun to have a dinner party with like Lee Krasner and Joan Mitchell and, just like all of them, and sit down and kind of talk and I want to hear about all of it, ins and outs, what it's like being married to all their crazy husbands. And, I think that'd be a fun dinner party.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Elaine de Kooning, all of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some stories they must have to tell.
I know. 1950s New York, being a female artist of abstract expressionism. I think so. Yeah.
With mostly all crazy husbands.
Yes. Jackson Pollock alone. I want to hear the stories.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, what is one thing you know for sure right now in this moment? You don't need to have known it yesterday. You don't need to know it tomorrow. What is something that feels true to you today?
That it will all be okay. That it all works out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Can you tap into that when it's not working out? Are you able to get there? Like when you're still in the middle of the messy stuff?
I can tell myself that, and that does help, but I don't think you realize it truly until you're out of it. But it helps to know it. It helps to say it because we've all overcome so many things in our lives and we've made it to the other side of it. And so I think just knowing that and having recognition that when you're going through it or when it's a little tougher than it feels like it should be, that it'll all work out the way it's supposed to. What is the phrase? Whatever is meant to be is already yours.
Yeah, like what's meant for you is already happening or something like that. Or is already yours.
Like but it's so true. And I think once we relinquish control, that is actually able to happen.
Beautiful. I love that. Can you please tell our lovely listeners where they can find you and where they can find Flora and Gather and all the things?
Yeah, until I have my own shop, you can find me on floravintage.co and on Instagram at Flora Vintage and Gather by Flora, also on Instagram.
And everyone go check it out because she's not putting new things in the world. She's curating and taking care of old things and making them beautiful, even making them even more beautiful. And that's what we're trying to do in the world, right? So thank you for being here. This was delightful.
Thank you. It was so fun. Thank you, Joe.
Such a nice conversation.
Thank you, Joe.
I could talk to her literally all day. I feel like we had such parallel lives and we're probably hanging out in a lot of the same places. But I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I did. If you know somebody who you think might enjoy it, please share it with them. We are building this community bit by bit, and all of your wonderful recommendations and your sharing really, really helps us. So please send it to someone. You can copy it in your media player just by saying share. It will give you an opportunity to copy the link. You can put it in your Instagram. You can DM it to somebody. You can text it to somebody. You can email it to somebody. If you're not doing so already, please follow us on social media. We're on TikTok and Instagram at Eat My Words, the podcast. And we are now on YouTube. You can listen to us on YouTube as well, on the Eat My Words YouTube channel. We do not have full-length videos there yet. You can just listen there. Hopefully full-length videos will be coming soon of the episodes. So thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. This Eat My Words podcast was created, produced, and directed by me, Joanna Olmstead. Our sound editor is Isabel Robertson, and our social media manager is Isabella Boutros.